Okay. Thank you everyone for jumping on to today's call. For those of you that don't know me, my name's Matt. I work in our partnerships team here at Mr. Yum and work really closely with both Clive and Lachlan who are joining us today. Thank you very much for jumping on to our final installment of Pantry Essentials. Over the past few weeks, we've had over 600 people join us and hear from a bunch of our partners. And today we're really excited to wrap it up with this session focused on building your online presence and how to manage your online reviews. Before we do jump in, just some housekeeping. Feel free to use the Q&A functionality on Zoom to ask questions throughout the chat. And Shelley will be on hand to answer those. Any that we don't get to, we'll send some comms post-webinar as well, answering those questions. But before we jump into it, I'd love Clive and Lachlan to do a quick intro. So over to you, Clive.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Hey, everyone. My name's Clive Morley. I'm the CEO of SERV Agency. We're a digital marketing agency predominantly just for restaurants. We offer marketing packs. We call it entree, main, degustation, and they're tiered services to suit a wide variety of restaurants all throughout Australia. As CEO, I guess my role predominantly these days is very much about team building. I directly recruit and train and help develop the marketers at SERV Agency. And I'm really passionate about helping the hospitality business become more profitable through marketing strategy, through marketing technique, through efficiency. And I guess we've got a bit of a reputation for a bit of a no BS approach to marketing. And we do our best to remove a lot of the fluff and be a lot more direct. I think that can be enormously helpful in hospitality where really every dollar counts. So that's a little bit about me and SERV. And Lachlan, over to you.
Thanks, Clive. And thanks, Matt, for having me on as well. Look, I'm the CEO and founder of Cloutly. We are an all-in-one review tech platform that helps venues collect, measure, and manage the customer experience. So we essentially bring together and centralize your reviews across dozens of sites like Google, Facebook, TripAdvisor. We give you the tools to simplify, respond to, and automate review collection, right through to leveraging AI to extract customer themes, trends, and insights for your business versus your competitors. So we're really closing the loop on social proof. So we've got just over 5,000 businesses who use our platform across the globe, and we're really excited to be here to help more Australian venues.
Awesome. Thank you very much. So often a lot of our work is talking with venues around different things that they can implement to make a real and actionable difference to their top line. Today, very excited to have you both here to help us unpack this and leave our attendees with some really helpful tips to do exactly that. So kicking it off, Clive, I know you work with a bunch of leading venues and venue groups across Australia on their marketing plans. And I think whenever I've spoken to you, you really have a great way of breaking the complex down into really simple strategies. So a venue comes to you for help with their digital marketing. Where do you start with them?
In terms of a starting place, I think that it's really important to understand that really there are only two types of customers. There's just new customers and repeat customers. And a lot of the brands that we chat to, they have something very specific in mind, like, oh, we want to improve our Instagram, or we want to do a PR campaign, or we want to change the signage out the front of the shop. And I think that's fine, but I think that the best place to start is to think about you have new and repeat customers only, and which one of those represents the greatest opportunity. Are you looking to increase the amount of new customers, and are you looking to increase the amount of repeat customers? I think it's important to understand that there can be clearly defined strategies that are suitable for each of those types. So, for example, SEO might be a great channel to grow the amount of new customers you get, whereas email marketing, a plug for Mr. Yum and Connect, maybe some email marketing is a great way to drive retention. So I think the first place to start is to figure out where are the opportunities. Is it growing the amount of new customers? Is it growing the amount of repeat customers? And then diving into the specific channel that may help that. I guess the second part to that is to make marketing less fluffy and actually very quantitative. So looking less at things like engagement and fluffy metrics and those types of things, but actually seeing that how many people did we reach and how many people did we actually influence, and building a bit of a channel planner and really putting everything into a channel planner. So it could be email marketing, it could be your walk-by traffic, it could be loyalty, it could be word of mouth. I think it's only when you start to quantify stuff that you can see where the opportunities are. So that's my two big tips of how to start about thinking about marketing and a marketing plan. And really, when it comes to the content creation side of things, this would be like video and reels and photography and all those. We're really talking about influencing behavior and to get people more excited about going to a venue. And when it comes to influence, I really think it's important to nail your Google listing and reviews. And I think that we absolutely all know that if we spot somewhere online, whether it's via Instagram or through press or whatever, I think our own behaviors generally lead us to do a bit of a Google search and read those reviews. And so I think that's also, worth kind of saying it's probably the most important driver of behavior there is look at those Google reviews and what can you do to manipulate that to drive as much influence as possible.
Yeah, awesome. I love that. And I think diving into that Google reviews piece, I know, Lachlan, it's something you've gone all in with Cloutly. I'd love to know from you, like, why you got into Cloutly and why reviews are so important, but also how some of your customers have used reviews to their benefit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think backing onto the point Clive mentioned, it's such a universal experience. The customer journey starts with search. Doesn't matter if you're a sandwich bar or a dentist or an accountant. Everybody's going to Google to conduct some sort of research about you to figure out where they're going to spend their money. Especially in this economy, interest rates are high, cost of living is going up. People are more discerning with how they're going to spend their money. They want to make sure they're getting the best experience for their buck possible. And so that starts with having, a fantastic review strategy in place and a great presence online when people do search for you, so that it gives them confidence to choose you over the other 20 venues that they might be considering or whatever it is. So I got into Cloutly because at my previous business, which was a performance marketing agency, we had clients from all different industries, from retail to professional services to hospitality. And the common theme that kept coming up was businesses felt like they lacked control over their reputation. They didn't have a say in where they were being reviewed, how they were being reviewed, and they wanted to take control of that experience. And so we decided to build this little MVP tool that would give that power back to the business and help them collect reviews, help them respond to reviews, and do it in a way that's simple for them, but also simple for the customer. So thankfully for us, it turned out that, we were onto something. And look, I think the great thing about reviews as a local strategy and as a marketing strategy in general is it's black and white. You can see the data. And I think hospitality venues are starting to really appreciate data for what it's worth and start to become more savvy about how they use data for their marketing as well. And so, look, this is a perfect segue, I think, into talking about what Google actually looks for and how you should start to promote your business and get reviews, right?
Yeah, no, I think that's a good shout. And I know previously in some of our chats and today you've both mentioned getting kind of to the top of those Google searches when people are looking for a new place. What are those ranking factors that Google's looking for?
So I want to open it up by talking about 3 explicit ranking factors. So Google is obviously a giant company and a lot of their algorithm is very hush-hush. We don't want to tell you exactly how to do this and do that. But there are 3 that they tell us to improve local search results. And, when we're talking about local search results, it's, if I'm going to Google best live music venue or best hamburger near me, you'll see that there's a top 3 pack of maps listings. And I'll throw over to Clive to chat through this as well. But ranking on those top map pack listings is really what you want as a local venue, because Google starts to consider 3 things. That is the relevance of your business to the search query, the prominence of your business in those listings. So how many reviews you have, how consistently you're getting those reviews, what the sentiment of those reviews are. And the third one is distance. So how far away are you as the searcher from the business that Google is showing? So Google obviously wants to provide the best search experience to their customers. And so being able to nail all three of those ranking factors, to be the most reviewed, to be the top rated, to be the most consistent, that's going to give you the best opportunity to show up first, second, or third in that local experience. Is that your experience as well, Clive?
Yeah, it's interesting to hear your take on that, Lachlan. I couldn't completely agree. And I think that especially in the hospitality space, if you make a Google search of, say, function venue in Willoughby or whatever suburb you're looking for, the map pack, as we call it, those three listings that appear above the regular organic results, they get the most click-through rate. So it's really important to have an SEO strategy designed around your map listing. And then below that, you get the regular organic rankings. But when you get into more competitive searches like Italian restaurant Sydney, for example, those organic listings are mostly going to be dominated by the media outlets, the aggregators, things like OpenTable and Broadsheet and Time Out, and all these like far more powerful websites. So that little map pack, as you describe it, the three Google My Business listings, that actually sits above those. And it's a great opportunity for a local business to actually win in SEO. And as you mentioned, achieving a high number of reviews and a high review score is one of the critical factors in being successful there. And of course, it's for free, and therefore you don't need to be a juggernaut of a business to be successful in SEO. You don't need to hire an expensive SEO agency for a lot of these phrases. I think having a very strong review strategy can very often help you leapfrog a bunch of the other businesses there and help you get some pretty premium visibility. And Google have actually come out and said, this is that real estate that we want to give the smaller local businesses a chance to succeed.
That's really interesting, Clive. And I think you totally nailed it there. There's often a misconception, I think, with the venues I speak to, that if they're going to invest in their local marketing efforts, they need to go and engage a big SEO agency and spend $3,000 a month, and they're not expecting to get any results from that for 6 months' time with their SEO. But can you help us break it down? There is a significant difference between those map pack listings and your typical organic search results that appear underneath. And it's actually really simple for a venue to get started on improving that local listing today.
Yeah, and I think that the understanding that Maps SEO is going to be far more relevant to a smaller local business, whether it's a local wine bar or a bakery or a tattoo shop or whatever it is, that those map listings can be like very powerful. It's going to be much harder to win SEO visibility in like the regular organic rankings. But I want to give all the attendees of this webinar a really great piece of gold here. Is going into your Google My Business page and look at something called the primary and secondary categories. Let's say you're an Italian restaurant in Crow's Nest. I would perhaps have my primary category as an Italian restaurant, but I'd put the secondary category as a restaurant. And if you're open at lunch, list yourself as a lunch restaurant. And if you have a function room, make sure you include function room facility. And then really explore those primary and secondary categories. It takes 30 seconds to do. It's hugely powerful. And if you combine that with a really defined strategy around gaining reviews, they're the top two things that even the world's best SEOers would look at first. They're kind of the most powerful of all the ranking factors. So if you haven't yet looked at your primary and secondary categories, then yeah, well worth looking at that ASAP. It'd be really hard to rank for a specific category if you haven't told Google that you want to have visibility for that category. And it's super easy to do. And many of the venues that we look after have sometimes 8, 9, 10 secondary categories because we're getting greedy with the amount of different search categories we want them to have visibility for.
Yeah, great.
That's it. Can I just, sorry, man, if I could jump in on that, I've just got a burning add-on for that. It's, we often talk about getting recognized on Google for certain keywords that we're targeting. So, if we're a venue that has live music, or we've got a certain type of sandwich, like a Reuben or something, there could be customers searching for that, but Google doesn't necessarily have the context of all of the products and services that you offer unless customers are actually talking about it. So that's where reviews come in so handy, is the more reviews you have that specifically mention Reuben sandwich or live music, well, now when somebody's searching for that, Google goes, wow, okay, we've got 30, 50, 100 people who mention this. They must offer that as a service. So therefore, we'll show them for that particular keyword.
Yeah. And I think that's a perfect segue into actually how we can generate more of these reviews. And I know, Clive, it's a major strategy of yours with your venues is getting more of those reviews. I'm keen to understand how you work with venues to maximize the number of reviews they're getting, and whether, that's in venue, post venue. Could you talk me through that?
Yeah, we've had so much success with SEO and local SEO, and I get asked all the time, "How are you so successful in this? What's the magic strategy?" And the answer is super simple. It's just ask, and it doesn't really matter how the ask occurs. So, if you have, let's say, you're a restaurant and you predominantly take online bookings. Let's say you're using like Now Book It, for example, and you're collecting that customer data. It may be easier to trigger a post-dining thank you email that says, "Hey Matt, thanks for dining at X restaurant last night. It was great to have you. Would love a review. Click here with a link." And that's easy to set up, and that can be automated. So if you're taking online bookings and you're collecting customer data, that can be a really easy way to kind of have an always-on strategy around review generation. But effectively, you're just asking for a review, and there's a little bit of finesse in terms of setting that up. With venues which have walk-ins and maybe aren't collecting customer data, you still need the just ask piece, but that might be a human to human element. It might be part of the customer service. So let's say that the manager of a pub is serving a group of people who look like they're having a fantastic time. Potentially go up to those people and say, "Hey guys, how's your night going so far?" And if those 4 people all say, "Oh, this is amazing. We loved our food." If you ask them for a review, chances are they're going to give you a 5-star review based on the positive sentiment they gave you during that feedback. So I think, with a little bit of customer service training, it wouldn't be too much of a stretch to say, "Hey, it's great to hear that you're having such a good time. There's a little QR code on the bill receipt there. Would love it if you could just scan that. And if one of you could leave us a review, that would be awesome." And I think that, if someone's just had a fantastic time and been showing off about it, then the chances are that could be a very good strategy to get a bunch of reviews. So whether it's done digitally or you just ask, I think the key strategy there is actually just do the asking, and there's no kind of magic kind of strategy there. It's just ask in general.
Yeah,
It's
great.
also it's a really interesting way to, I guess, amplify the amount of reviews you can collect when you do that just asking in person as well. If we look at the success rate of automations, you might get 20% of your customers who leave you a review. But you'll find that if you actually just ask in person and be upfront, you could walk over to a table where there's 10 diners and they've all had a great experience. So now you've gone from potentially just getting 1 review out of that to getting 9 or 10. So there's a lot of power in that. Absolutely.
Yeah, great. I think it can also be something that floor staff are incentivized on around getting, if their names are mentioned within reviews, actually incentivizing that to really generate more of those as well and bump up that listing that we've spoken about. Keen to get both of your feedback around review sentiment. So we know reviews aren't always positive. I'm sure we've all looked at places before and filtered by a 1-star review. Lachlan, keen to understand how you talk to venues and your customers on how to manage not only positive, but perhaps negative or neutral online reviews.
Yeah. It comes up all the time, and it's often a big point of friction for venues when you talk to them about automating their reviews or asking for them. They always say, "Well, what if somebody's had a bad experience? We don't want to go and ask them, and then they go and roast us online." So what I always say is don't be afraid of negative reviews. If you think about the way you search for businesses online or you filter through feedback, if you're anything like me, you'll go and you'll look at the 1-star reviews first. And it's not that you're necessarily trying to go, "Gotcha." It's that you want to see what's potentially going to go wrong with that experience. How is the business actually dealing with that feedback? And that's, in fact, potentially one of your biggest marketing opportunities is responding to negative feedback in a way that turns that from a negative experience into an opportunity, not just for that customer, but for the next 10,000 potential customers who read that review and read how you dealt with it. So I always like to establish some sort of framework for dealing with negative feedback online. So think of it almost like a acknowledge, empathize, and offer. So acknowledge if something's gone wrong, empathize with their situation and how that could have been frustrating or disappointing, and then either offer something that gets them back in or offer to take that offline. So give them a call, give them a number that they can call so that you can make that experience right. Ultimately, I believe that people don't want to just go out and give you a 1-star review. They mostly just want to have their problem solved or their poor experience rectified. Something I think that, even if we think about this process and backtrack it, is identifying this happening in real time. So Clive, I want to throw this over to you. If you see a bad experience unfolding before you in a venue and you think to yourself, okay, that table looks like they're a bit unhappy, this could end up as a negative review, how should you deal with that?
Yeah, I think that starts from, this is like more of a leadership question. And I think there should be a culture in any business to understand the power and importance of reviews in general. And so if a staff member could see a potential bad situation unfolding, perhaps it was poor service, or perhaps someone's waited an hour for food, or the food was not cooked to their liking, or whatever that is. I think if the person who is looking after that customer understands that reviews are really important, then they're going to have that top of mind in the way that they deal with it. And I think that some situations just can't be avoided. And I think we all know that. But I think if the staff member was really showing some empathy about what was going wrong and really making a bit of a human connection and doing their best to kind of manage the relationship, that person may still have a bad experience at the venue, but I think they're far less likely to go and then leave a savage 1-star review as well if they've had a really good interaction with that staff member who showed them lots of empathy, who showed some emotional intelligence, who really tried to solve their problem. And sometimes a problem can't be solved, but I think if they ask the right questions, such as, I'm sorry your food's taking so long. Meanwhile, what can I do to look after you? I think if you kind of just show a little bit like that, I think that person's far less likely to leave a 1-star review.
Yeah, great. I think awesome feedback. And I think, Lachlan, what I loved there was your framework around the response to some of these negative reviews around acknowledge, empathize, and offer, because it takes some of the emotions out of, a heightened response if you're following a really simple framework to these. So thank you very much for that.
Absolutely.
I've got a question for Lachlan, Matt, if that's okay.
Yeah, go for it.
Lachlan, with your platform, I know that when we chat to our clients, and sometimes there are some tricky reviews, and they often ask us for some copywriting tips to kind of deal with bad reviews. And not everyone in hospitality has a certain communication style or being able to articulate how they feel. And sometimes language is a barrier as well. Does your platform offer any assistance or some guidelines or a framework around kind of replying to reviews and getting that finesse right?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for the softball there that I can whack out of the park. Look, the power of Cloutly as a platform is to really, empower whoever it is that's responding to reviews and give them the ability to put their best foot forward without them having to sit there for half an hour, in an emotionally heightened state, scared of how to respond, not sure what to say. They don't want to say the wrong thing, or maybe they're just angry. So within the Cloutly platform, we actually have a tool called Magic Response. And what this does is it analyzes the review that you've received within context. You can press that button and it will use our backend frameworks to generate an AI response to that review. And so this is a really good tool to, give you a framework for how to respond in the best possible way. You can then go and tweak that to your liking or add some elements of personalization. But it's also a really good strategy, to go and click that button if you're, sitting in your office at 4:55 on a Friday afternoon and you've got 50 reviews. No matter if they're negative or positive, a lot of them might sound the same. And I think the worst thing you can do is respond to every single review exactly the same way. And you'll see this a lot across various venues and other businesses as well. If you look at their Google reviews and every single review has got the exact same copy paste canned response, I think that's the absolute worst way you can go about doing it. But with our platform, the Magic Response will give you the ability to tailor those responses too.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that. And just weary of time, one last question that I'd love to put to both of you. So, just more broadly, going back up a level, to marketing and digital marketing as a whole, often, or I suppose venues, prioritize their marketing budget in different ways. And often a lot of owners or managers are in venues because they're amazing at hospitality and they're amazing at making people feel like a local every time people walk through their venue doors. What, Clive, would you say to perhaps one of your groups or a prospect on the importance of digital marketing, that perhaps is struggling to recognize the importance there or to allocate the funds towards marketing in their venue?
Yeah, I think if you previously haven't had a huge amount of success with digital marketing, it's going to be really difficult to kind of invest more marketing to a channel that hasn't bore fruit in the past. I think that's totally understandable and fair enough. I would say that marketing is virtually anything that brings in new customers, and we can split that out into new customers and repeat customers. And I think that marketing will very much depend on the context of the venue. So I think the question isn't why should we invest in digital marketing? I think the question should be, we're investing in digital marketing. How do we figure out which channel is going to give us the most value in the short, medium, and long term? And if you don't know the answer to that question, ask someone or ask a few people until you're satisfied with the answer. So rather than think about digital marketing doesn't work for us, I think the question should be, digital marketing works. What channel specifically in that extremely broad category is going to work best for us in our particular context? And I think getting some really no BS, unbiased advice around that probably will be like the next step for those people. Yeah.
Great, thank you. And Lachlan?
Yeah, I completely agree with that sentiment. And look, it's something that I think Clive nailed. You've got to have a strategy for the digital marketing. Is such a wide scope of services that are within that, and people often approach marketing and say, hey, we've tried posting on social media, it doesn't work for us. Hey, we've tried running Google ads, it's too expensive for us. That may be true, but that doesn't necessarily mean that digital marketing doesn't work. It just means you haven't quite found the channel fit for you yet. The great thing about local marketing, when we're talking about reviews and local SEO, it's so easy to get started and the results are there to be taken advantage of on day one.
Yeah, awesome. Now, thank you very much to both of you for joining. We will wrap it up there. Thank you for everyone on the call. We'll send out the recording later today. So please feel free to share it with your colleagues, your team, anyone that would benefit from watching this. And thanks again for those that have attended multiple Pantry Essentials. We'll be back with a new season soon. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Lachlan.
Thanks very much, guys.
See ya.